Cris Collinsworth joining us as Chris has the game Sunday night. It'll be the Patriots and his former team, the Cincinnati Bengals. Chris, let me start with the Patriots here and what you've seen since you're looking at film. How bad are the Patriots on offense?
Hi, how are you, Dan?
Hi, Chris.
Good talking to you. How bad are the Patriots? Let me get right into it here. I think they've got to get their offensive line settled. It's an issue. They have been rotating guys up there like you can't believe. 5, 6, 7 different combinations that I've seen so far. You throw into that mix, their tackles haven't played very well. You throw into the mix, Tom Brady hasn't played particularly well. You throw into the mix that Rob Gronkowski is still not very healthy. They haven't gotten much production from Danny Amendola. Yeah, there are issues. There's no question about it. But anybody who's looking at that division and not thinking the New England Patriots are still the favorites, I would disagree with that. I think defensively they had a bad day the other night. That's hard to do. A bad night the other night. But they're going to be good. Vince Wilfork is looking healthy again. Darrelle Revis, they're going to get Brandon Browner back from the suspension this week, so they're deep in the secondary. This Chandler Jones can absolutely play with anybody. Dante Hightower wasn't particularly great the other night, but he has been great early this season. Jamie Collins can run like the wind. So this is, from a talent standpoint, in my opinion, still by far the best in this division. It's mostly because of Tom Brady. But they've got to find a way to protect him. I have a feeling, and I haven't talked to anybody there yet, that you may see a completely different style out of the Patriots this weekend. Maybe a little bit more of full protection. You know, they've been a spread team, and I've just got to think with the issues they had protecting the other night that we're going to see a different style.
Do you think somebody will tell Tom Brady when it's time to move on, retire, or will Tom Brady know?
I think Tom Brady will know, but I think that people are trying to make 1 and 1 3 here. When you see what has happened up front, and granted, some of this is self-inflicted because Logan Mankins is no longer there. Skarnecki is no longer the offensive line coach. He retired. So there's a few things they're going to have to overcome. But I don't care who you put back there. If you put Aaron Rodgers back there, if you put whoever you want to name as the top quarterback right now, they're not going to perform. I mean, this has truly been I've never seen anything like this. I really haven't. The 2 tackles have been in place, but they have not played particularly well. But Jordan Devey, Cameron Fleming, Brian Stork, Ryan Wendell, Dan Conley, they've played about 3 or 4 different positions each inside there. And then you take that act on the road in one of the loudest stadiums that there is in Kansas City and try to make it work with communication issues and all that sort of thing. It was going to be a mess, and it was.
Yeah, I think Bill Belichick did a disservice to Brady because if you look at what Denver did with Peyton Manning, they made sure he had a lot of weapons and a great offensive line. They did go out and get some defense because they realized that's the only way they're going to win a Super Bowl. You do have a very good defense in New England. I think potential to be a great defense, but the weapons on offense, I don't know. I think Belichick sort of said to Tom, somehow make this work like you did last year, and I'll get you a better defense this year.
I honestly think they're fine with the weapons they have. I don't mean to be a jerk, and I can be that occasionally. But this Brandon LaFell played great the other night. I put on the tape. I've been watching him. Kenbrell Tompkins, who didn't even dress for the game, played really well in the first, 3 games of the season.
Where's Amendola?
I don't know. The problem is that he kind of plays like Julian Edelman. But he's not in Edelman's class. Edelman's one of my favorite players in the league. Edelman, I've never seen take a play off. He just busts his tail every single play. And if you get a choice in one of those little misdirection routes that those 2 guys run, it's fairly obvious now that Tom Brady is going to take him. What they really need is they need Gronkowski back to being Gronkowski again. But what they need more than that is they need to be able to do something up front. They're going to have to be effective running the football to take some pressure off this offensive line because they're struggling to pass protect right now.
He's Cris Collinsworth, Football Night in America. It'll be the Patriots-Bengals Sunday night on NBC. The Bills and the Jets are taking opposing stances in how to develop their young quarterback. Rex staying with Geno Smith, the Bills deciding to bench E.J. Manuel. Which position do you take on this?
God, it's an interesting question. I tend to think that in Buffalo they have no choice. Don't you think they kind of understand at this point they're one and done if they don't get this done with the new ownership there and everything that goes with it? I saw Kyle Orton in Dallas last year. I watched him in practice, and I probably had the same thought you had going into that game, like, oh, here goes another backup, and, this is why we protect quarterbacks in the league. But Kyle Orton has a real feel for the game. He has a classic delivery, way over the top. He reads defenses well. He has experience. And it did not surprise me. I have to say that. It did not surprise me. I think that I really like E.J. Manuel. I think he and Sammy Watkins are two of the nicest young men I've met in a long, long time. But if I had to go all my chips to the table, to the middle of the table this year, and know that the new ownership was going to decide on me this year, I think I agree with the Kyle Orton move.
The FCC is actually giving a pause to the possibility of fining broadcasters for using the Redskins on the air.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. Did you see this report where somebody had a complaint, and then they said, well, the head of the FCC says, I find the word offensive. I don't know, Chris, if you can say it's offensive and then not rule that it's offensive. How do you then go back and try to put the genie in the bottle here and say, I think it's offensive, but you know what? Go ahead and say it if you want to.
I'm with you. I would greatly prefer to see that name changed. And I always hear the same argument that, whatever, you take a poll of, 80% of the people in America think it's not offensive, and that's sort of been the argument. Redskins fans want it to stay, but if that had been the standard back in the civil rights movement, we'd still be saying some words that we would prefer not to now. So I think that if it is offensive, and I can certainly understand why it is, on its face, it says red skin, which, do I think that when it was given to the team that it was intended to be offensive? I don't. You wouldn't name, your child something offensive, and you wouldn't name your team something offensive. But, we've all seen this in the past, that things evolve and things change. And if it is offensive, and I think that it is, then I think there is some duty to change it. But whether it should be done politically, I would much prefer to see it done within the league. I think at this point in the National Football League, we'd like to see some people standing up for what's right if they think that that's right. But I understand that it's really left to Dan Snyder, and I understand, I get it too. This is a guy that has a great passion for this franchise, that's why he bought it. His dad and the relationship, and he loves the fans, and the fans are all telling him, don't change it, don't change it, don't change it. And he's really popular because he's taken a tough stance on this one. And so I get all that stuff. I think that he could go a long way. I don't know. I'd just like to see it changed.
The Teddy Bridgewater, I don't know if he's going to play tonight. I hope he does. But what we saw in his coming out party, I couldn't help but think back to that pro day where he melted down there. But it seemed like put more stock in that, more emphasis on a bad pro day than a great college career.
But, so many times it's happened that you draft a player and then all of a sudden they show up at rookie minicamp. And the minute you see them in person, you go, why did we draft him? Or sometimes it's like, holy cow, that guy can really play. It's the first impression that is so powerful. And I think that happened to Teddy. But he is, I saw him play forever at Louisville. This kid can play. He can throw it. I thought of all the quarterbacks, I thought he was the smartest, best decision maker, just looked like he knew what he was doing in the pocket. very polished, and now they've sort of added this little read option element to their offense that surprised me. I really didn't think they'd be able to get something new like that in-house in a 1-week period of time and making that quarterback change, and probably surprised the opponent last week too. But he's a good player. He wasn't overwhelming in New Orleans. I didn't think he looked particularly sharp on there. Pretty tough though against Rob Ryan's sort of different looks that he'll throw at a quarterback down there. But I was impressed last week, and I would love to see him do well.
Yeah, Chris is holding his foundation's pink ribbon luncheon today. Joy Behar, who I love, and then you bought steak in Pro Football Focus. It's
been fun. I felt like I had to buy a little piece of it just so I could justify going on it every day.
So they grade every player on every play?
In every game, and they have for the last 7 years. I mean, it is 13 NFL teams now pay for the right to get in-depth analysis from this group, and it's growing pretty fast. It's really been fun. I learn something new every day. I mean, there's no way I can watch 32 teams every week, so you have to have a few cheat sheets here and there, and I looked long and hard, and for me, this was the best one, so I was like, why not? I'll take a little piece of it.
We will see you on Sunday night.
All right, buddy. Good talk.
Thank you, Chris. Yeah. It's Cris Collinsworth, Football Night in America.